Well, in the telco context, since we're shifting towards more software-based telecommunications, AI will even be more prominent. So we'll discuss a fundamental concern in telecommunications in our modern life, and that is AI. And when we talk about technology, inevitably we'll talk about its proper use, what it's really about, how we see ourselves, the lives we want to lead, and that is uh, falling within the purview of AI ethics and governance. So as you can see, even for those school-based, we're pretty much inundated by good news and bad news with AI, good use and misuse. Even scientists are not spared. I see that my colleagues, for instance, are already using ChatGPT to create quiz. If you are a student, please raise your hand if you're still a student. So you have a sense of, so it's not as if your only students would use AI uh, to get past exams or to try to overcome requirements or fulfill requirements. Also teachers. So as you can see, but um, the for the Philippines, as a country, we are a small country relative to India, United States. We're about 110, 111 million. Yet, as you can see, we're pretty heavy users of AI. Now, what do you think? Is that good or bad? As you can see, Japan, small use, and then some others, and even Indonesia, which is bigger than us, 350 million. We outrank Indonesia in terms of traffic on ChatGPT. But if you probe deeper, the problem here is that we're using AI to search for information, especially ChatGPT, which may not be the proper use of AI. All right. Mm. So what is AI? It is a field dedicated to developing systems capable of performing tasks and solving problems associated with human intelligence. Most, if not all, systems that make decisions normally requiring human expertise fall within the purview of AI. There's also a conflation of terms. Data science, it looks like becoming less sexy a discipline because of this conflation. But there's an overlap actually. You need robust understanding of data, scientific understanding of data to be able to do AI. And you have machine learning at a more deeper, more deeply level, and you have deep learning AI, especially with the models we're dealing with now, which are really just artificial neural nets, no, the ones popular anyway, like ChatGPT. But it's not just one area. There's more natural language processing, knowledge representation, machine learning, computer vision, speech recognition, robotics, and the challenge really is to combine all this and to have a singular, contiguous services, no, of AI. So, how do we deal with that? We will be talking about the principles that govern AI.
Right. Today, we embark on a journey for the values informing the future of AI. Before we begin, let's reflect on a real life story that highlights the importance of ethical principles and considerations in AI. In 2018, Amazon developed an AI powered recruiting tool to assist with hiring. The tool was designed to scan resumes and identify the most qualified candidates. However, it was later discovered that the tool was biased against female candidates. The reason? It was trained on resumes submitted to Amazon over the past 10 years, which were predominantly from male applicants. As a result, the system learned to favor male candidates and downrank resumes with words commonly used by women. With that in mind, let's take a look at the principles that hopefully can help us be fair and develop AI to serve our best goals and aspirations as a people. A report on an AI development framework available at ai-ph.org/devframe offers a set of value-based guidelines covering inclusive growth, human-centered values, transparency, robustness, and accountability. These principles are the foundation of responsible AI development. I strongly suggest that you check out this live online document for a detailed discussion of today's topic. Principle 1, inclusive growth, sustainable development, and well-being. Artificial intelligence plays a crucial role in sustainable development, intertwined with our national goals for inclusive growth and well-being. As countries embrace AI, it is essential to consider both its advantages and risks. Mitigating potential negative effects is vital, ensuring AI's benefits are shared equitably across society. Principle 2, human-centered values and fairness. Fairness is a cornerstone of AI. Bias in AI systems can lead to discriminatory outcomes affecting various sectors in society. Defining and evaluating fairness in AI is a challenge, but we must ensure AI respects human rights and data privacy rights. Instead of relying solely on AI, robots, or automation, it's essential to involve humans directly, especially for high-risk systems. While AI can offer innovative solutions, human participation remains crucial to ensure these systems enhance human capabilities rather than causing harm. AI's potential for innovation is limitless, but it also opens doors to potential misuse. Ensuring fairness in the development of AI is challenging, but our stakeholders argue that end users should have transparency into AI's decision-making process and the ability to influence results. In some cases, human involvement is necessary to avoid purely algorithmic decision-making, ensuring clear human accountability and system auditability. However, it's essential to recognize that autonomous systems may not always be under human control to some degree. Therefore, we must qualify human involvement in AI systems, particularly in high-risk applications. In such cases, having humans in the loop, HITL, is crucial. For high-risk AI systems, the EU AI Act mandates human oversight to ensure safe and responsible use. Human involvement in AI goes beyond HITL. A successful approach involves leveraging both human and machine competences in a virtuous cycle to produce valuable and positive outcomes. At its core, AI must prioritize the protection of human rights. Principle 3, robustness, security, and safety. Building trust in AI requires us to prioritize robust, secure, and safe systems. Whether it's self-driving cars or medical applications, reliability is of utmost importance. To ensure safety standards and protect human rights, adequate regulations and oversight play a vital role. While it's essential to acknowledge that the majority of AI systems deployed so far are largely safe, it's understandable that people might get fixated on the more dramatic incidents. For instance, earlier this year, there was a tragic incident involving a Belgian man who reportedly engaged in a 6-week-long conversation with an AI chatbot called Eliza about the ecological future of the planet. The chatbot supported his eco-anxiety and tragically encouraged him to take his own life to save the planet. Instances like this remind us of the responsibility we hold as AI developers to prioritize safety and well-being. Recently, the launch of OpenAI ChatGPT language model stirred mixed reactions. This model showcased its ability to mimic human conversations and generate unique text based on users' prompts. However, this has also raised concerns about potential misuse or unintended consequences. Moving forward, it is crucial for AI developers to strive for continuous improvement in making their products and services safer to use. By emphasizing robustness, security, and safety, we can foster public trust and ensure that AI technology is a force for good in our lives. Principle 4, accountability. AI actors must be accountable for their actions and decisions. Responsible AI involves transparency and the ability to explain the reasoning behind AI system choices. Auditability helps ensure compliance with regulations and mitigates potential risk associated with AI. The risk of disinformation has gained prominence recently with the advent of ChatGPT and generative AI. Consider the case of Brian Hood, an Australian mayor. Hood was a whistleblower praised for showing tremendous courage by exposing a worldwide bribery scandal linked to Australia's National Reserve Bank. However, his voters told him that ChatGPT named him as a guilty party and was jailed for it. in such a bribery scandal in the early 2000s. Should OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, be held responsible for such apparent disinformation and reputational harm? Even it could not possibly know in advance what their generative AI would say? The question of whether OpenAI should be responsible for this is a complex one. On the one hand, OpenAI could argue that it is not responsible for the content that its AI system generates. On the other hand, OpenAI could also be seen as having a responsibility to ensure that its AI system is not used to spread disinformation. Principle 5, transparency, explainability, and traceability. Transparency in AI policies and decisions is vital for a democratic society. Understanding AI systems, even for non-technical stakeholders, foster truth and informed decision-making. Explainability allows us to identify potential biases and ensure fair AI outcomes. In Singapore, it's required that AI decisions and associated data can be explained in non-technical terms to end users and other stakeholders. This openness promotes informed public debate and democratic legitimacy for AI. However, the concern of AI systems being perceived as black boxes, lacking transparency and explainability, has been raised during our stakeholder consultations. AI systems navigate through billions, trillions of variables that influence outcomes in complex ways, making it challenging to comprehend even with human attention. Large language models like ChatGPT, with trillions of parameters, have made explainability elusive, even to their own developers. Non-linear models further complicate understanding the connection between inputs and outputs. Despite these challenges, developers are working on solutions. More interpretable models, like decision trees and rule-based systems, are being explored. Techniques such as human-readable rule extraction, sensitivity analysis, and localized explanations are also enhancing explainability. Additionally, detailed documentation of model architecture, training data, and evaluation metrics can provide valuable insights into AI system behavior. Regarding transparency, some stakeholders propose focusing on policies and processes rather than revealing AI algorithms entirely. This approach acknowledges potential risk, as excessive transparency might hinder innovation by diverting resources from improving safety and performance. As the European Union moves towards adopting the AI Act, there's another important principle linked to transparency called traceability. Traceability is distinct from explainability, but equally significant. While explainability focuses on understanding how an AI system works, traceability involves actively tracking its use to identify potential issues. This empowers AI system operators to spot and address risk like data bias and coding errors. Achieving traceability means keeping records of the data used, the decisions made, and the reasons behind them. Explainability, on the other hand, plays a critical role in building user trust and aiding informed decision making. It provides a human-readable explanation of how an AI system makes decisions. Both traceability and explainability contribute to the broader principle of transparency. However, it's important to recognize that transparency alone may not automatically build public trust. Professor Honora O'Neill highlighted this concern in her BBC Right lectures 2 decades ago, noting that while transparency and openness have advanced, they have not done much to build public trust. In fact, trust may have even diminished as transparency increased. This insight remains relevant in today's discussions about AI and its regulations. Some stakeholders propose focusing on policies and processes rather than revealing AI systems navigate through billions, trillions of variables. This approach acknowledges potential risk, as excessive transparency might hinder innovation by diverting resources from improving safety and performance. As the European Union moves towards adopting the AI Act, there's another important principle linked to transparency called traceability. Traceability is distinct from explainability, but equally significant. While explainability focuses on understanding how an AI system works, traceability involves actively tracking its use to identify potential issues. This empowers AI system operators to spot and address risk like data bias and coding errors. Achieving traceability means keeping records of the data used, the decisions made, and the reasons behind them. Explainability, on the other hand, plays a critical role in building user trust and aiding informed decision making. It provides a human-readable explanation of how an AI system makes decisions. Both traceability and explainability contribute to the broader principle of transparency. However, it's important to recognize that transparency alone may not automatically build public trust. Professor Honora O'Neill highlighted this concern in her BBC Right lectures 2 decades ago, noting that while transparency and openness have advanced, they have not done much to build public trust. In fact, trust may have even diminished as transparency increased. This insight remains relevant in today's discussions about AI and its regulations. Principle 6, trust. Trust is a crucial element in AI adoption. AI systems must prove themselves to be reliable and safe, especially in applications impacting lives and livelihoods. Earning trust requires adherence to high standards and inclusive AI governance. We now know that transparency does not automatically translate to trust. We need trust to provide space for our Filipino AI developers to pursue innovation that benefits society. In turn, they have to act responsibly and be trustworthy. AI research is a public good that needs to be supported by all stakeholders. This is where my presentation ends, even as we all continue with our journey through AI principles. For more details, check out our report on AI governance framework for the Philippines, available at ai-ph.org/devframe. The values and principles we discussed today are the compass guiding AI's future. Let's continue to develop AI responsibly, ensuring it benefits everyone while respecting human rights and promoting a fair and equitable society.
All right. Just run through some of the points made there. Inclusive growth, sustainable development, and well-being. We see that there is this is something that is embedded in our Philippine Innovation Act. AI's burdens and benefits have to be shared equitably. We also see how AI could potentially bring in trillions of economic activity, trillions of benefits valued at trillions of dollars. We're also seeing 70% of companies would have adopted at least one type of AI technology. Right now, for the BPO industry, for instance, 60%, the last survey, are already using AI. So if you're headed to BPO, most likely you'll be using AI, and some other companies in the Philippines as well. There is increased productivity. That's why in my workplace, it's default that my staff would be using AI, so that the burden, I mean, the justification would be on people, the onus on them if they don't use AI. However, you see that it's not something that is straightforward. It's easier said than done. AI, as a matter of fact, will potentially also bring in added dimension of inequity, as opposed to just simply providing access to, say, internet. So if you're in Tawi-Tawi, you probably would experience internet via Starlink, and that's fine and dandy. However, there's an added dimension there that if you are going to be using AI, there are going to be additional skills that are expected of you, that are required of you. Algorithmic skills, your ability to access fair databases, and the capacity to be treated fairly, or to the right to be treated fairly in those databases. And it's quite a leap. It's no longer just access to AI. As you can see in the previous slides I had a slide on Philippines being on top of countries using ChatGPT. The problem with our use, according to data, is that we use ChatGPT to look for facts, to look for certain information, and those the information, the bits and pieces of information, could have been hallucination. So in other words, our usage of AI so far is shallow. So that it's a problem when you have to think in terms of inclusive growth, because even as we have access to AI, it's not just access we're talking about. It's about being able to access properly, and that requires more than just access. No, you also see that right now AI is getting to be stale in some areas. People are not seeing beyond the hype. It appears that we have a peak there's a peak already of inflated expectations. So it's a letdown for others, for instance, if they're expecting to AI to do more. So we could be seeing disillusionment already, and some are enlightened. Hopefully that when we truly understand AI, we are experiencing a plateau of productivity, and this is really where it matters most. We see beyond the hype, and we go straight to productivity. In our workplace, I see this happening. I'm not so sure in other areas of the country. No, so as this has been emphasized earlier as well, human-centered values, treating people fairly, avoiding algorithmic decisions and their discriminatory consequences. So if you look at algorithms, they have the tendency to perpetuate or if not amplify existing social, economic, and cultural inequalities. So that the idea really is to really have fairness, being respectful of human rights and data privacy. Practically all disciplines, all professions are already affected. You might think that if you're a hairdresser, you would not be affected, or a makeup artist, you would not be affected by AI. But as you can see in this headline, a makeup artist lost his job assessing with AI assessing her body language. So it looks like there's no job anymore that is safe from AI, no? At least directly or indirectly. You see this also some countries being defensive about AI, but that is already reversed in Italy. They now have access to ChatGPT. There are also certain areas of concern, especially when OpenAI introduces new version of ChatGPT. You have relatively increased risk as well. No? And in some companies, they are worried about intellectual property being exposed to some trade secrets being exposed to AI, and meaning to the rest of the world as well. No, so we have discussed this well enough in the video, but just to point out that this is an ongoing concern. Every time you have a new model of AI, there is increased security, as I said, there is increased safety as well, even as you learn from previous models, because the more you push the boundaries of AI, the more you are exposing yourselves actually to risk. Accountability is something that is a moving target as well, as AI progresses. That is, and as new domains of applications are being considered, new areas of expertise are being generated in AI. That is a continuing problem. As discussed earlier on, transparency is something that is almost intractable to some regulators, because for the simple reason that systems tend to be black boxes, and by transparency we mean operations as well of AI that may tend to be inexplainable. So neural nets, for instance, there is no straightforward explanation why input gets to have certain outputs, for instance. No, so the interaction with humans, especially when you have in learning context, in relation to, for instance, ChatGPT and other large language models, the more you put in human elements, the more mysterious the outcomes become. No, so that is a problem. No. And then when it comes to producing context, you see perhaps more recently in the Philippines, you see your messenger having an AI tab already, an AI button where you can interact with an AI agent. You see this generating images that could potentially be misused. No, I was checking out, for instance, certain images of Jose Rizal, and combining him with certain scenarios, and I could see potential for misuse as well. No, so let me just breeze through these points, because we're running out of time. In a way, I'll be sharing the slides with you. And just to point out that when you talk about AI governance, there are many elements of there as well. Leadership is one. If you are in the context of a company or school, your overlords, your bosses, the board of regents or trustees need to be really engaged. Ethics to be front and center. Looking at the core technical elements of AI, this is not something that you will just have to be left to the technical people. You see how this involves in an organization. More importantly, you have to consider the people of your in your organization and the culture uh, that is dominant in that area. You have to look at risk in terms of deciding go or no go for certain AI operations, looking at operational structures and processes and mechanisms as well, especially how AI performs in your organizational context. No, so I will just skip of these elements and leave this with you of the link later on. This has been alluded to earlier on in the discussion. So one of the last points I have to discuss with you would be the human involvement scenario or consideration in AI. Because if you come to think about it, AI is really about autonomy. So this is an area as well that is distinctive of say simple data science. AI is always about developing systems that are aimed at becoming autonomous. And if you consider the notion of autonomy, actually, by definition, it's out of control from humans or out of human reach. No? Even if you say, oh, I want to just insert myself there and take over time, you increasingly lose control because your aim is to develop autonomy in a way in machines. No? So there are potentially conflicting tendencies there with human control and autonomy. So you have to be qualifying what you really mean by AI autonomy, because as you progress, as technology progresses, there is greater autonomy and therefore less human control. So the idea is, especially for high risk applications, you would need humans in the loop, and that is a concept that is hard to operationalize actually, because you have a long contiguous process, and some of these are pretty boring, and humans are terrible at dealing with boredom. As a matter of fact, we um we try everything we have, everything to just escape boredom, possibly including from boring lectures. No? So prohibited use of AI. When we talk about human involvement, we don't want AI to be applied as weapon systems. New Zealand is leading the way in advancing the view that we shouldn't be using killer robots, AI as killer robots. We shouldn't be looking at manipulation and exploitation with the use of AI. Unfortunately, in some countries, this is more of a norm rather than an exception. Indiscriminate surveillance, there are societies that are basically dominated by surveillance technologies. Cameras, for instance, surveillance cameras and so on. But even if we might think that we are free, there is actually surveillance going on. There is a book on surveillance capitalism, which is essentially monetizing our activities online. So if you use Facebook, if you use other social media, you're pretty much being monitored. Even as you surf the internet, even as you browse sites, you are still being surveilled at, and the cookies will be gathered, and certain patterns will be determined, so that when you, and probably even listening to you, no, sometimes when you have conversation with your friends about certain dress or certain products, you'll be surprised sometimes that when you open your internet, when you open your browser, you see an advertisement of the product, similar product that you are interested in. Social scoring is another area we're supposed to be prohibited, but this is happening in one country at least. When you are not doing well online, if you are misbehaving online, you will not have your passport and you cannot travel because you have very low social score. So these considerations will have to be put front and center when we talk about AI governance. So there are risk profile in different areas of the society: criminal justice system, financial services, health and social care, social and digital media, energy and utilities. There is an accounting of the risk that are involved here, although I think there are variations. When we come to the Philippines, or when we apply to the Philippines, for instance, we have higher risk of social media manipulations during elections, for instance. In the US now, there are controversies around the use of certain images, use of censored synthetic data, and you can pretty much see how these stack up against other risk of AI. So we can knowing this risk would be a prerequisite to being able to deal with them. No, so more bad news, so to speak, but we already alluded to this earlier on. No. In Southeast Asia, it's changing now. This was last year, but the recent initiatives, they want to come up with AI regulation, but it's not happening anytime soon. My colleagues are participating, I think, right now in Laos, where this is being discussed, but I don't see this happening, the regulation of AI in Southeast Asia in 2 years, not even in 2 years, because while there is clamor, there is talk. It's a long shot to get this to get into some kind of regulatory framework that is applicable to all of Southeast Asia. So right now we're still pretty much a wild west. Philippines, Pogo situation, Thailand, Cambodia, where Filipinos are human trafficked to serve in the underbellies of AI in Thailand and Cambodia. We see that happening. So that is still a problem. Now, so top-down approach may be a problem. We see our regulators who are so gung-ho about regulating AI, but my big discomfort really is that they may have been misinformed. There is one lawmaker saying that AI research needs to be regulated. You need to register your research in AI. I don't think that is a good idea. We're trying to reach out to that regulator that at least provide him with proper expertise, no, when it comes to AI. There are many unanticipated consequences, especially for us Philippines. We are very good at crafting laws without thinking about their unanticipated consequences. So we shoot ourselves in the foot when we do regulation for the reason that we lack understanding of this technology. So we have to look at various technologies to be able to see in comparative terms how this may pan out, how they're really properly regulated. When people think about regulation, they immediately think of laws. So pupunta ka agad kay congressman. That may not be a good practice. So you have to look at AI as a range of interventions when you deal with AI. So governance, regulation, and legislation. So they are not the same. So there are discriminatory biases. Until now, if you look at pronouns being used by ChatGPT, there are stereotypes that are being perpetuated. So driver, for instance, or scientist, it's almost always a guy. So it's going to be a he. But the reality is that there are more women scientists in some areas already. Drivers are no longer just men, and so on and so forth. No, so biases are being amplified by AI. So we have to take a look at our training data, which is a potential source of bias. Algorithmic bias is also another possibility, that the way we parse data is biased already. No, so There's also the general aspect of data patrimony, so to speak. Do we allow our national data to be fed to the large language models of OpenAI, Microsoft, Amazon? Because if that is just what is going on, then we're pretty much really at the raw end of what we call data colonialism. A large contrast here is the effort, for instance, of France. They're trying to come up with their own national large language model based on Llama 3, and it's an ongoing project for the government of France, precisely to combat what we call data colonialism, where French data or Filipino data would just be training data for large language models that are owned by uh, big tech, no? And there is no conscious effort to uplift the interest of the country. So very quickly, you see that this is the technology is really progressing by leaps and bounds. Although I'm not going to say that there's going to be general intelligence, superhuman intelligence, but we already see that there is greater progress in this area. We're now approaching Llama 3. I think the one you're using in your Facebook is already Llama 3 point something. But as you can see, the way it's by weeks. It's been estimated that the compute requirement for this, because there's an energy requirement for compute, and that is the doubling time is 100 days. So if you're using 100 watts now, in 100 days, just to power your AI, you will need 200 watts for that baseline now. So there are benefits to this. There are limitations. We just have to take a look at it. But we as Filipino researchers, we have to be trying this out. We have to apply this in our context. That's why I'm inviting you to the October 24-25 conference. I put it in the chat. And finally, so that we can talk about application areas in the Philippines, agriculture, health, and so on. So how do we deal with with AI? We have to deal with AI responsibly, looking at legal and regulatory frameworks focused on privacy, fairness, and equity. We have to build local capacity in AI. We have to look at multi-stakeholder. That's why it's a whole of society approach. We look to Finland, for instance, where they have a conscious effort to educate their citizens. At least 10% of Finnish citizens have undergone training in AI, or at least familiarization with the technology. And Finland is now presenting itself as the educator of the entire Europe. Advocacy for greater representation in global AI governance. We understand that we don't have the compute. Right now, I'm looking for 450 million so we can do an 8-node compute for AI. That is really quite low, but that's what it really amounts to. So if you have 450 million pesos, that can help AI research, at least in my university. Investment in AI-enabled social research to prioritize well-being and equity. This is not something that is just an afterthought. Right from the get-go, we have to design our systems to produce well-being and equity.